The snow is supposed to move into our area sometime during afternoon drive. They're saying 5 or 6 o'clock. Low tomorrow night, 27, and a 70% chance. So that's an ideal condition for freezing rain, sleet, and snow. So we'll just have to wait and see. But I wanted to caution you, no, I'm not trying to help the supermarket sell bread and milk, although I'm going to slip off and make sure we got plenty of milk and an extra loaf of bread at home, just in case, you know. Well, as I said, we got a good program today. We'll talk with Kimberly Woodhouse. But first, you know, every day we lose more and more of our war heroes from our greatest generation. Our friend Ben Cagle, you know Ben, he's been here on the station several times. He found a war hero who served in World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam. He's retired Air Force Major Raymond Falls. Major Falls lives near Harrison. His mind's sharp, although he still requires some around-the-clock medical care. Several years ago, Ben, who lives near Major Falls' house, he took his camera over to the Major's house and they talked war stories. They talked about the Major's 30 years in the Air Force. His story? Well, it starts with his appointment to West Point.
And I didn't realize that time, but a congressman couldn't, but a senator could get you an appointment to West Point. So I got an appointment to West Point and didn't even know what it's all about. And I got called up then, but instead of going right there, they sent me to basic training in Miami. I thought, well, what happened to the West Point thing? And all at once they called my name out one day. You're on the bus, sent me to the University of Alabama for my training because West Point was full. And I got my scholastic training at the University of Alabama. Of course, they pick the subjects for you. You've got little things like I had to take a course in just about everything you could think of. Medical aid, I had a pre-med course even we had to take. Pre-med.
To fly, you had to have it.
Well, this wasn't just to fly. What they're doing, when you went to West Point was just take students and educate them in things that they could pick then and maybe train them for what they wanted. In fact, when it came out, I had higher evaluations in medical than I did in my flying and math and stuff. And I was offered an opportunity to go to medical school, and I said, no, I want to fly airplanes. I want to fly that brand new P-51 they've just rolled out. Well, that was my second choice, and I got it.
So what, on the flying thing, is that something you just always wanted to do?
I always wanted to do it. I always wanted to do it. I built model airplanes when I was a kid. My uncle had an airplane. He let me fly it. And then I'd buy flying time at the airport. I'd been flying before I ever got in there.
Well, and that was a P-51, you say?
That's what I wanted to fly right then.
Okay, but that's what your dream was.
Yeah, it was just rolling off the assembly lines.
So you didn't have any idea of what the gears were, or the panel or anything in there, or are they all basically alike? No,
nothing's alike. I didn't have any idea. I just knew I wanted to fly that. I wanted to fly fighter aircraft.
Okay. So when how long did it take to learn to pick that up?
Well, when they turned me loose to the University of Alabama, then I went back into the regular flight school, and they sent me to flight school, just come up the line with the rest of them. I flew the trainers, flew trainers, flew the old P-40, and then I finally got to that new P-51.
So when you were flying that P-51, was there someone else in there with you?
No, it's a single-seat fighter. Single-seat fighter armed with 650 caliber machine guns.
650 caliber machine gun.
Yeah.
That's incredible. How long did you fly that before you moved to another? Were you like assigned one particular airplane, or did you just fly?
Well, you flew what your squadron was doing, and I happened to be assigned to a squadron that's flying P-51s. And later we upgraded to F-80 jets. When we went into jets, I became a jet instructor, jet check pilot. We flew F-80s, I flew F-84s, I flew F-86 Sabres. And by then, we're talking over a long period of time here now. World War II's over. I've already been in Germany for a couple of years, and all this has happened before the fighters phased out. Missiles phased out the fighter aircraft. You don't need to send a fighter out to do it when you can do it with a missile. So about that time, my unit switched over to MAC, Military Airlift Command, and from then I got to see the world, I ain't kidding you. And then after the fighter days were over, I went into MAC, Military Airlift Command. From there on, I flew all over Italy, Spain, didn't go to France, Italy, Spain, Germany, Greece, hit them all. I covered the cities in all those countries. And then I went to the Far East. I've been to Tokyo. I used to fly back and forth across the Pacific Ocean like it was a regular run. I've hit just about every major city in the world except in France. We never went into France. France was not really our friends after World War II. They should have kissed our. In fact, they were so upset they didn't like us.
And what was that all about?
I've never figured it out. One time when I really realized what was going on, Bubba and I, that's the other pilot, we were moving a group of dependents, Army dependents, that's the wives and children and everything, from POS, change of station, moving them from Mildenhall, England to Thessaloniki, Greece, where we had a base in Greece. And we were going across France. I could see the Eiffel Tower. I mean, the Eiffel Tower's right out there in front of us. The engineer called, says, "Captain, we got trouble with number 3. And I looked at the gauges, everything. I said, "Feather it." So we shut number 3 engine down. Here we are, 2,000 miles from where we started and 2,000 miles from where we're going, but we're over France. And I look back there in the back, and here's these little ladies back there. I mean, ladies. Some of them have 2 or 3 little children. And France had this thing, they had a $50 landing fee. I looked back there and I saw this one girl with 3 little kids. I said, "There ain't no, she could come up with $400. I said, "Bubba, we're going home." We turned that thing around and flew it from the middle of France all the way back to Mildenhall, England on 3 engines.
Wow. Was that the scariest thing that you went
No,
through?
it wasn't scary. I wasn't worried about it. The aircraft will fly on 3, as long as you got 3. Well, there's one I've always wondered about, and I'll never know the answer. It's the day I left Vietnam. I went down to operations about 6 o'clock in the morning to find out what I had for the day, and they gave me a set of orders, immediate departure for Tokyo. Tokyo was a long way from where we were in Vietnam. Had no idea where we were going and what we were hauling. So we fired up, got the flight plan file, and flew to Tokyo. And to this day, I don't know who I took or what I took to Tokyo. I figured it wasn't none of my business.
So they just told you, here's where you're going, and don't ask any questions.
Yeah,
pretty much.
You didn't usually ask questions anyway, and I figured if it's any of my business, sometimes you don't want to know. That's it. That's like my old boss, Colonel Carl Rutter. He'd say, "Do you have a need to know?" You could ask him something and he'd tell you that. Do you have a need to know? So he's telling you it ain't none of your business. And the only time it was ever damaged, I did it.
Can I ask how you did it?
Yeah, I was going to work on a bridge. I had a 500-pounder under an F-80, and I knew where I wanted to put it, but there's definite rules. You do not drop a bomb below 500 feet because you're in it. I carried that down to about 200 feet, put it out. I said, "Oh, you done screwed up." I could, boom, I'm in the thing. But it knocked a big hole in the back of the fuselage about that big where one chunk went through it. That's the only damage I ever got in the whole thing. Did it myself. Engineering officer says, "Captain, what the hell are you trying to get away with?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You've tore up the airplane." I said, "Well, that's what we do with them." I just kept walking.
outslip the surly bonds of earth, and danced the skies on laughter-silvered wings. Sunward I've climbed, and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I've chased the shouting wind along, and flung my eager craft through footless halls of air. Up, up the long, delirious, burning blue, I've topped the windswept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And while with silent, lifting mind, I've trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of space, put out my hand and touched the face of God.
What a guy. I thought Major Raymond Fall's story was most interesting. You know, it's not every day that you meet a fighter pilot that served in 3 wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. Major Falls, you are truly a great American. Our hats are off to all our veterans. Stay with us here on Sound Off, because we're going to meet a very interesting lady. Her family got a surprise one day, an extreme home makeover. That's coming up after we take this break.